the question that you asked in terms of recommendations to motivate and support our African-American students, I would probably agree with all of the other speakers that have gone before me. You know, visiting the museum, AAMLO, you know, walking that gallery, spending family time, watching any kind of scientific documentary, reading to our children is so important. And I actually have some books that I'll share with you that I actually read to our children and am currently reading to my grandchildren. When I taught in Oakland Public Schools, I would have reading days for our children and actually have my students mentor younger students. So, I mean, self-esteem books, you know, I'm a brilliant little black boy, you know, starting off with, you know, am I enough, you know, with our young girls. Because as they're toddlers and as they're little ones, it's really for me about building their self-esteem, building their character, having those kind of character blocks, building blocks. They've got to be foundational. You know, reading African folk tales. I mean, we are a part of such a rich culture, not only as African Americans, but we belong to a larger family, the African diaspora. You know, I think it was mentioned, you know, looking at, you know, Dr. Walton talked about listening to your children, creating and celebrating this curiosity that all children have. So, you know, they're little books, you know, talking about clubhouse mysteries. You know, so all of our children are investigators, and so how do we celebrate this mind of curiosity? They're books that talk about. There's a series, The Great Black Heroes, and so looking at these books, finding using our free resources that our tax dollars pay for, going to the library, finding age appropriate books at a young age, preschool to grade 1, kindergarten to grade 2, grades 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and so on to high school. So this is another book that is a part of that Great Black Heroes series. 5 brave explorers. You know, we talk about the names of Matthew Henson. We talk about the names of Dr. Mae Jameson. You know, but looking at some of these stories and sitting down and reading with our kids. You know, we don't want to discount animation. So, I mean, you know, the tiger moth, the insect ninja, you know, just really having fun with our kids, you know, and also just an opportunity for us as adults to tap back into what my oldest daughter, who is a physician, talks about, that Peter Pan space. So, you know, just also being a child, learning with our children, not being ashamed to say, I don't know that, you know, in front of our children. I think one of the speakers talked about, you know, if you don't know something, connect with someone that does, and then also model that me as a parent, I as an adult, I don't know everything. So who do I know in my community? And then maybe having courage to step out of my tribe, as I call it, to find out who knows that subject. And, you know, sometimes it's good to go to the teacher, but it could be that neighbor that maybe I didn't know. So having the courage to speak out. So, you know, I've got all kinds of books, but I think you kind of get the idea that I think language, literacy, spending time at museums, highlighting the rich culture that we have, looking at sharing with, having family time, watching documentaries, even if it's watching, if you watch the basketball game last night, and there's only one basketball game, I'm not gonna put anybody on the spot, but the Warriors and Memphis last night. It was a great game, but there are opportunities to talk about the math in the game. Maybe not at that moment, but you can combine sports. There's physics in math, there's angles, there's geometry, there is simple additions, there's data analysis. I bet if you ask your scholar, your child, to give you their favorite player athletically and talk about how many times they shot the ball or how many 3-pointers, they could give it to you. Well, that's information, and it's called data. So how do we combine their street language, their everyday conversation, their languages, they're talking to their kids, and say, well, give me that data again about so-and-so, whatever, Steph Curry's latest shots are, how many 3-pointers does he have? So all of this is, I think Dr. Walton talked about, the play. I kept hearing, that word throughout. So as we're playing with children, as we're allowing our children to play, there's math involved, there's language involved, there are social studies involved, there's this international connectedness. All children all over the world, particularly in our African diaspora, they are doing the same things. They're cooking, they're speaking, they are playing. So how do we merge that? So I think, when we talk about recommendations and motivating and supporting, those are some of the ways that I think that come to mind. There's the visit right here in our I call it Acres of Diamonds, going to the Exploratorium, the Lawrence Hall of Science. There is at Lake Merritt, there is a nature center. We have our very own Insect Science Museum of California. Actually, its director is a Black entomologist. We talk about Ernest Just, who was a biologist, a zoologist. Actually, he was also a marine biologist. So looking outside the box, when we're motivating our kids, when we're talking about our kids. But I think, I can only echo what has come before us, is just playing and allowing our kids to play, to touch, tactile, to feel, to smell, to use those senses that we have, and to just excite. How do we excite and how do we keep alive their curiosity? As a principal in the school, I used to always tell my teachers, our children come to us as preschoolers and kindergarten students with this curiosity. And I'll be damned if I'm going to allow or watch you snuff that out of them. So my teachers knew that when I would come along for evaluations and just observations in the classroom, it could be as loud as it could be. It may look chaotic, but there is exploration, there is organized chaos, and it's okay. Let's not try to stifle and straitjacket our children. And African-American children, and particularly boys, they can't sit still. So they're moving all around. Well, hell, let them move around and build relationships with them. I think as we build relationships with them, we're listening to them, we're listening to our parents, to their parents, and honor that their parents are their first teachers. And let's not get caught up in the language of our professions, but let's embrace and love our children. And you'd be surprised. Their little minds are active, they want to learn, and this is a perfect time. This is a perfect time. So I don't want to monopolize. I'll share my airtime. Sorry, you got to give me some kind of signal because I could go on and on. You can tell I'm passionate about education.
Yes, I can. And you know, and it's so wonderful. I mean, we really are truly honored that you are sharing your wisdom, your passion, your knowledge, not only as an educator, but as a parent. And I just want to just add the beauty of reading and the importance of letting our children know how they can give back to the younger children. And I just immediately thought, as you were speaking, Lauran, about AAMLO. AAMLO has story time. And I mean, the opportunity for, I can just see endless possibilities, but the opportunity just with AAMLO story time for older children to read to the younger children. And maybe that could be even like a part of their community service that is required for schools. But AAMLO has an amazing collection of African-American books, but it's so important from my perspective is that it's so important that we are demonstrating to our children, not just through our own actions, but we're putting in front of them people that look like them and people that they can feel very confident and very excited about seeing people that are same shade they are, same hair texture, like, wow, they're doing amazing things in all the fields. And that I'm just so happy that just going inside of AAMLO is just an amazing building to enter. And I always want to be dressed up to go to AAMLO because that is the place to go and dress up, because you give an honor to just the rich culture and history that from our ancestors. And I just am so thankful that we're able to have this core AAMLO institution as our connection as educators and professionals.
And speaking of our children's hour actually comes with lesson plans as well. So yeah, we've been doing this virtually for the last year. So we thought, I met with our chief curator, Bomadeli Dimerson, and the lesson plans are ongoing and you can actually access them at your leisure. So we're really proud of our story time. And as you mentioned, that all of the presenters mentioned, it is important that we teach our youth that there are resources right here at the African American Museum and Library. I mean, there are resources here that you cannot find anywhere else. With the digitalized collection, you can actually go online and access some of the collections here. So it's been very informative for me, and I'm really enjoying Dr. Walton and Mrs. Lauran Cherry, and of course, Mr. Lee Cherry as well. So Janet, you have really put together some outstanding professionals, and we are recording it, and it will stay live in the AAMLO's archives department for generations to come.
Thank you, Vita. Well, I just want to make sure, and in a lot of time, that we have an opportunity to engage our audience, because you want to know if anyone have any questions, and then we can Vita, you can kind of give me a cue of how much more time. But I definitely want to have the audience to be able to ask some questions of our panelists.
Janet, I got you. There were 2 questions in the chat that were directed to me.
Oh, sure. Would you like? I would love for you to read those and then answer those questions.
One was from a parent who has a child who, I don't remember. I think they're undergrad, pre-med, and the question was around if you major outside of STEM, does that put you at a disadvantage for all the prerequisites for medical school? And I would say, absolutely not. It does mean that you still have to rise to the occasion when it's time to take those science classes, when it's time to take the MCATs. You may be taking that exam with a friend who's a bio major who has to, I'll just make this up, has to spend 10 hours to review bio for the MCAT. But as a non-bio major, I might have to put in 40 hours. and I might have to get a tutor. You know, I do what I need to do to get the end result, right? So what is the end result? The end result is excellence. So I do what I need to do to get there. And that's about knowing yourself, knowing what you need. And that makes me think of something that has been that I've struggled with as a mentor. And that is, I find my students of the diaspora reluctant to ask for help. And I would encourage parents to encourage their students. If you don't know, go find out. And it may mean being vulnerable, but anyone who's been a professor, that student who walks into your office lights up your day. So it's not an admission of, oh, I don't know, and I feel inadequate. No, it's I'm curious, I want to do a good job, I want to learn. That's what the professor sees. And I see a lot of our young people hiding behind not knowing and hoping for a good result when they just need to be marching into the professor's office during office time and asking the questions to get the knowledge to do well on their assessments. I've been in situations where I've been in classrooms where I've said, this is my office, these are my office times, this is my number. If it doesn't work for you, we'll find another time. And all the other students take advantage of that opportunity. And my students of color, and especially my African-American students, for whatever reason, and this is a generalization, it's not true for all students, but there's more of a reluctance to be vulnerable and to ask for help. And we need to not see that as a negative, to see that as, this is where I'm at, this is what I need to learn. So as parents, encourage your students to develop that muscle of not being embarrassed, of that professor, you're paying that professor. You just took out a school loan for thousands of dollars for that person to teach. Go in there and get what you paid for.
Words very well spoken.
Yeah. And then you said you had one other question.
Can I jump in there?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Janet, is it appropriate? You know,
oh, sure.
Dr. Walton, I tell you, you hit right on it, because I was going to also add, you know, it's developing the skill of effort is so critical. And I guess what I want to say is kind of even at the womb and the preschool and the primary school and high school, if we start with children as toddlers, developing and complimenting them on their effort towards doing something, as opposed to, you know, you did a great job, but digging a little bit deeper. So, you know, kind of comments like, you know, I saw you get back up, or I'm so proud that you finished. I noticed that you cleaned up your room before you did so-and-so. You know, what parents are beginning to do is to build these character strength, what I call building blocks that translate into any kind of profession. But in science particularly, there are these foundational blocks that give them the strength to stick to it, to push through, to ask questions, because at a younger age, they've been exposed, they've been allowed to fall, but they've been building a sense of structure, a sense of effort, a sense of kind of oomph, as my grandmother used to say. You build that oomph, and it builds this character strength and the ability to, when you fall down, I can get back up, because, you know, I fell down when I was a kid and somebody said, yeah, get back up. You can do it. You can do it. So, you know, just another little add on to support what you've already said.
Thank you. Thank you. And then Dr. Walton, you said there was a second question from one of our
another
attendees? Question
about how do you manage microaggressions when you're experiencing them? And of course, that's a whole 2-hour panel. But my brief answer to that is there are multiple ways, but for me, number one is validating that it actually happened to you. So from a personal perspective, name what just happened to you. That's number one. Don't negate it, name it. If someone, especially someone of the diaspora, comes up to you and says, this just happened to me, validate it for them. So I think that's the first step for all of us. We have to acknowledge that these things are happening. And then you have to decide how you want to respond. And I think of it in 3 different ways. You can, and these are words in the diversity sphere, you can call that person in, which means naming what just happened, and then recognizing that that relationship has importance and meaning to you. And so you call that person to understand what just happened, and then you educate them. Like you use your, some of you may hear all the time, oh, I'm not going to teach white people. They need to learn it on their own. Well, there's a lot of, there are 42 million who voted for someone who I agree with. They need to figure it out. But there are millions of people, or in my own sphere, there are people in my life that their relationship is important enough to me that I will call it and I will educate. So I call that calling in, naming and educating. Then there's that situation where you just don't have the emotional strength, or it's just, you just don't have the emotional bandwidth, where you just call on them. You just name it and say, you really should Google what you just did and why I'm upset. And then there are situations where you have to call people out. I would say calling someone out, naming what happened, shaming them, bringing it to attention. There are moments when that needs to happen. Someone needs to be checked. And you can also, in those moments, choose not to be the person to educate or take it on. It gets complicated in different contexts, create complications. It was the microaggression from your boss. Are you dependent on this job to bring money home, to keep the roof over the head, your children fed? I mean, those are the kinds of things that we ask ourselves all the time in figuring out how we're going to handle the microaggression. That's my short answer, which was kind of long.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you for that insight. And yeah, we are going to be planning several other webinars. So Mark, I'd like to ask you, do we have any other questions from our attendees?
Yes, if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to raise your hand in the raise your hand feature or leave a message in the chat box.
I loved how someone in the chat mentioned that in Asian American communities, they've normalized Saturday school. And that's true in a lot of different communities. And when my children were growing up, I had more of an informal kind of Saturday school. It didn't always end up being on Saturdays, but there were a group of us who education was important, and there'd be these 4 African-American families at the Lawrence Livermore Lab. We'd be the only 4, and we would be commenting on it. Why are we the only 4? Where are all the other folks?
Mm-hmm.
But it was nice to have that even though it was a small community of like-minded parents, but we were dragging our kids around in experiencing those enrichment programs all the time.
Mm-hmm. So Danielle, are there any other questions?
I don't see any other questions in the chat box at this time, and I don't see any hand raised, but I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Recently on social media, there was a doctor. Her name was Dr. Rosario, and she became internet famous recently because she was in a Zoom meeting having a court appearance, and the white male refused to address her as Dr. Rosario. And so my question is, for all those doctors, how often do you encounter people refusing or trying not to refer to you as Dr. So-and-so, but try to address you by your first name? And do you prefer to be called by your, you know what I'm saying, your medical name for people that you don't know?
So Dr. Walton, that's.
I guess that's mine. I feel like I'm dominating the conversation. So for me, that's a complex conversation. In the sense, first of all, the answer to your question is absolutely yes. I've been called even after correction. Can you being sort of pushed, even after correction, someone saying, yeah, but could you please empty the trash? The trash is full. There are certain spaces that I don't want to be called doctor because I want to be part of, I want to feel and be connected with community. And I recognize that it was a lot of hard work and a lot of people, and I rode on a lot of people's shoulders to achieve what I've achieved. But sometimes I feel, and this could be all my stuff, this could be not reality, but all my own perception, but I feel like the doctor title creates some distance. And I'm a very, we all have different kinds of personalities and how we move in the world. And I'm a connector. So I don't walk into a meeting like this. If someone said Stacie, or it wouldn't affect me. If I'm in a meeting and I'm the only person with black skin, I have a different kind of relation. It's like, you better, doctor, I earned it. That's who I am. I'm coming to this space with those credentials and that knowledge. So call me what I am.
Yeah.
So it gets a little complicated when I'm in those mixed spaces. In my bio, Janet mentioned that I'm involved in racial healing circles. And for me, in those spaces, I leave doctor outside the space because of what we're trying to achieve. But it happens. It happens a lot. When I was a resident, so I'm in pediatrics, so it's all about making sure the kids are comfortable and feel safe. So my fellow residents, they didn't wear their white jackets. And I did. And, halfway through the first internship year, it came up at a meeting, Stacie, you're the only one wearing your jacket. I'm like, yeah, I'm the only one that gets, on a daily basis, gets misrepresented as the janitorial staff. Right? I walk in a room with the badge, doctor, with the stethoscope. I mean, who's walking around in a stethoscope? With the stethoscope, in those scrub outfits. I used to, those horrendous scrub out. That was my daily outfit. And still people would say the trash cans in the bathroom, when is my child going to get their meal? Mrs. So yeah, I kept my jacket on. It was one more piece of visual evidence that I was not the janitorial staff. I was not administration coming to get a form filled out. I wasn't delivering a food tray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really important that you're sharing that, Dr. Walton. And I think too, what's even equally as important is that's why we're emphasizing the importance of us educating our own children, children, African-American children in the community. It's important for all children to achieve their fullest potential, but our focus right now, you have to have a focus. What is your focus? What's your priority? And I think it's important for me. Our priority, our focus is on raising African-American children to achieve their highest potential. And those who are very curious and want to enter the field of science and the STEM fields, we want to support, encourage, and know that that's possible, and expose them in the schools, and also acknowledge those. And I just wanted to say, this has been amazing, but I want to acknowledge that we do have, we want to recognize our African-American medical students who are currently in medical school. We want to make sure that we recognize them and give them their honor. So I know we're cutting this panel short, but we're going to have to, and I really hope I can invite all of the panelists back so that we can have a continuation from this series today. But I do want to go ahead and share and just acknowledge our medical students, because I think that's important, and that's what we're talking about in preparing the next generation of leaders. And I'm going to share this first slide because it just emphasizes everything we just said. Visual aid, just giving our children the ability to know that they can achieve, educating our children to become healthcare leaders. This picture is truly worth 1,000 words. And the students that we want to honor today is Sydney Baker, is the first student, who is one of our attendees on the call. We're so proud of Cindy, who graduated from UC Berkeley, and she is going to be attending UCLA Medical School for her first year this fall of 2021. So shout out to Cindy.
Yay.
Yay, we're so
Yay.
proud of you, Cindy.
Cindy,
And then we,
congratulations.
Cindy. And so she is our female student, and we have a balance here. I'm so proud. We have our young man, our strong African warrior, Baba. I'm sorry. We have our strong warrior, Bakadi Awakoye. He graduated from Howard University, and he is a MD and PhD school student, and he is in the medical scientist training program. So that is an exceptional honor that he is in a PhD and MD program, and he will be a medical scientist. So we know we will see great inventions from Bakadi, who is attending Northwestern University. He has completed his second year of medical school this spring of 2021. So yes, we want to acknowledge them, and I will love an opportunity later. I know we run out of time, if we can be able to show them, have them present themselves. But this is what it's all about, uplifting our students, whatever they choose to be. But our focus for today is talking about educating and supporting our children in science and medicine and our other STEM fields. So we want to honor these two medical students.
Thank you, Janet. This has been totally amazing. And I am in awe. I have so many notes on my desk right now, and I do definitely see another series coming about. I see it already, Janet, and we're going to continue to reach out to our youth. And I also want to mention that if you haven't seen Black Men in White Coats, the documentary, it is excellent. I did screen it during Black History Month 2021. So it's still available online and through Amazon as well. So I would like to extend an invitation for those of you who have not seen it to view it. It is excellent. Also, just to let Janet know that we at AAMLO really appreciate what you've done to put this together. This is, I've done Festival of Knowledge for several years. It was a 2-day festival with many professionals from the Bay Area, and it was acknowledged very well. This is my first time attempting to do it virtual, and I want to just come out and tell Janet, thank you for this amazing virtual series of the Festival of Knowledge, and we will continue on, and hopefully we can bring it back in-house as well. So to Dr. Walton, to Mrs. Lauran Cherry, Mr. Lee Cherry, and also our future doctors, I want to thank you again. And also I want to thank my A-team here, our librarian, Ms. Danielle Woods, and also Marco Frazier, our library assistant and coordinator for all the tours we have here. So Janet, I think I'm
Yes.
going to let you have the closing remarks, and thanks again, everyone, for spending your Saturday afternoon with Janet and the African American Museum and Library at Oakland.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. This has been an amazing program, and I just look forward to us coming together again. And, this is what drew me to AAMLO, the rich history, the rich community, the sense of community, the connection, and us really sharing a common focus, a common goal, and that's to uplift and inspire our next generation of just African-American leaders. And that's what drew me to even get more involved with AAMLO, initially as a volunteer, and then I became more involved and I'm along with the other co-founders of the Friends and Stewards of AAMLO, which is a nonprofit organization that partners with AAMLO. Our focus as Friends and Stewards is to uplift and inspire the next generation and to educate about the importance not just of our past and our present history, but we really want to make sure we're having intergenerational programs to let our young people know that you are a part of the living history, and we want to be working with you and collaborate with our young people to be able to help them to be able to have their history be stored, and because it's valuable and important. So I just want to extend a warm and sincere invitation to our attendees to, if you want to get involved and become more part in doing the work to create these amazing free programs, is to consider joining the Friends and Stewards of AAMLO. You could even, if you don't feel like you have time right now, you could always give a donation and you can join and become a member later. But if you want to learn more, it's just so amazing work. I get so much fulfillment out of working with the Friends and Stewards in collaboration with AAMLO to create these amazing programs. But if you would like to learn more about the Friends and Stewards, to become a member or to make a donation, you can email the Friends and Stewards of AAMLO 18@gmail.com. So if you can put that in the chat box for our attendees. Once again, that email is friendsstewardsofamlo 18@gmail.com, or you can call us. Friends and Stewards office number is 510-574-7955. So I appreciate everyone, and this has just been so amazing. I'm really full right now, and I'm very excited about this opportunity. So,
thank you, Janet.
Thank you,
Okay,
Rita.
everyone. Oh, I forgot something, Janet.
Oh,
We
yes.
had 2 additional technical advisors. So I want to thank them as well. Rodney Maxwell and
Oh.
Janet's son, Jelani Noble. I want to definitely thank them too.
Thank you. I will acknowledge them too, because, I have to say, the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, which has now been, you might more often hear the phrase, it takes a village, but, I just want to let you know that I truly believe in the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, and that we do continue to support and each other throughout our lives. And my son and husband helped me to make this program successful, as she stated their names. So thank you, Vita. I forgot to acknowledge them. Jelani did my amazing PowerPoint to make it so professional. And then my husband was able to step in and go and meet Lee Cherry, Mr. Cherry, to do the videotaping so that we can make sure he still was a part of our panel and presenting his amazing, very insightful video presentation. So
Teamwork.
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 Thank you, everyone. Please visit please visit the African American Museum and Library. We are open to the public. Of course, we're 25% capacity at this time, but I'm sure we're going to jump out of this orange tier pretty quickly, get into the yellow. And right now, I'm inviting you in. Please feel free to call me when you arrive here. I'll give you a special tour. Thank you so much, everyone. Janet, amazing. Everyone have a wonderful, safe, and healthy weekend. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.